Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. And we're another weekend closer to football. Chargers football. Let's go. So let me shout out the chat. Emil, what's up, my brother? Thanks for tuning in earlier. And thanks for tuning in again. And welcome to Season 2, Episode 13 of the Chargers Power Hour. I'm going to call this one today Breakout Stars and Super Bowl Aspirations. On that note, JD, you want to pull up the Neon Peacock ad? NeonPeacockMerch.com, the channel sponsor and the show sponsor. I know Peacock said there's an ad sale coming up, so make sure to put your email in there, address. Head on over to NeonPeacockMerch.com. There's custom tees, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, drinkware, pillows, frame artwork. There's everything that works. Well, this episode is kind of special to me. I'm going to dedicate this episode to our family dog who passed away on Tuesday. Bolt Nation lost a good dog, and one of my dogs that always came on my shows and stuff like that. I'm going to dedicate this to Taffy, who was 20 years old, who passed away on Tuesday. So this one's for Taffy. I did a show the other day on Bolt Splits with Booga Peters, and it was kind of good therapy, getting back into my routine, but it's not the same having my little rugrat next to me. Or my other one's in the other room, but it's different around here. But I want to dedicate it to my dog Taffy on this one. But on that note, we're gonna have a good show today. I got a pack one. It's gonna be fun. But I thank you all for joining me. Yeah, thanks, Emil. I appreciate it. It's been a rough one, but you know what? With the support of all the guys in the GWN and around me, it's been good. Today's been a day, but I had a lot of good memories with her. It's all that matters. And as JD would say, man, she's looking down, and she was a fun dog. But you know what? There might be one in the pipe works soon, but we shall see. Another Bolt fam joining the fam. But on that note, Bolt fam, welcome back to another episode of the Chargers Power. I can't believe we're blowing through these episodes, pause left and right. But I know it's the off season's dead, but it's starting to pick up. Draft season for fantasies coming up. So, hey, I'm going to, as I said last week and the week before, I'm going to work that fantasy impact into my segments and go on from there. But on that note, welcome to another episode of the Chargers Power, episode 13. We're back to work again. All right, JD, you want to pull up that picture? One. All right, King D, this is another one for you, my good brother. I know this is the third week in a row I've done a Rams-Chargers one, but hey, we do share a stadium, unfortunately. But PFF, did they get this one right? Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. I'm going to call this one the Battle for L.A., Did PFF get it right? Well, I'll get down to it. Well, Pro Football Focus released their 2026 quarterback rankings, placing Matthew Stafford at number 5 and Justin Herbert at number 7. Speaking of rankings, Spencer the Guru just had his quarterback rankings, and he had Justin Herbert number 10. But listening to my part about a couple things, he kind of brought Herbert back down, I think, to 7. But it was kind of cool. But, hey, PFF has their grades, and this is what they got. They had Stafford at 5 and Herbert at 7 heading into the season. Big question is, did they get it right? We know Matthew Stafford. He's got a good offense. Shout out to King D. Hey, Nate, welcome to the stream. Appreciate you joining. And JD, I appreciate the message. Dawn, welcome to the stream. Welcome also. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, Emil, I was going to do something. Maybe going forward, I might put a small little picture up in the corner of her there, but, I'm just going to keep it lit. But I just wanted to dedicate today to Rafi. But let me get back to business as usual. As I said let me start with Matthew Stafford. He's coming off an MVP season. Stafford was phenomenal in 2025. He finished with the league high PFF passing yards, threw for over 4,700 yards, 46 GD touchdowns, and just 8 interceptions. If you're judging yourself just on last season, it's a legitimate argument he should be a top 3 quarterback instead of 5th. I ain't gonna lie. Now let me flip the switch over to Mr. Justin fucking Herbert. Let's go. Herbert checks in at number 7. This ranking feels a little low, even while playing behind league's lowest graded offensive line in 2025. He still threw for more than 3,700 yards, 26 TDs, and remained one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league. Several analysts believe he's a legitimate top 5. I've been saying it for the past couple weeks. If with the Mike McDaniel, he can be top 5. MVP caliber too. I said that too. Talents there, especially emerging in the second season with a revamped offense. And you add Mike McDaniels. But that's what PFF thinks. Do I think that? I think I said this morning to Spencer, I felt I had Herbert at 7 or 8. That's where if I was going to rank Justin Herbert this year in 2026, yes, that's where I'd have him. But I know Spencer's was a redraft. Now, if I was doing Dynasty, I think I'd have him at 7 or 8. But there we go. But, with Matthew, I'm going to get to the fantasy episode. With Matthew Stafford, he's a QB1 every single week, winning upside. He has experience, aggressive downfield passing. He has 2 nasty wide receivers in Puka and also Devontae Adams. Justin Herbert just got Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson. But Matthew Stafford has 2 proven weapons. For Stafford, I'd predict him around 4,500 plus yards, 35 to 40 tugs like last year. And if he stays healthy, I'd say his best value is around 7 to 9 in 1 QB leagues. That's my grift there. Now, as for Justin bloody goddamn Herbert, let's go. Herbert has his fantasy ceiling. The offensive system should be fully allow him to push the downfield more adding value to his legs. And if the Chargers offensive line, as I've been saying weekly, stays healthy, he takes a leap forward, Herbert does this year, and has that realistic to finish a top 5 QB this year. Fantasy projections, I think I said between 45 and 4,700 yards. And I think he's Herbert around 30 to 35 touchdowns plus several hundred rushing yards is a few rushing touchdowns also. So I'd say his value in fantasy draft, 1 QB, it's going to be around 6 to 8. And that's for Justin Herbert. But you know what? Everyone's going to have their value going into the fantasy drafts this year. Like I know I got Las Vegas next month with the fella and everyone else, Peacock and all the GWN brothers. It's going to be fun. But my take, I actually think Justin Herbert should, as I said, should be ranked a little higher than Stafford. But I also look at it. He has Puka and he has Devontae Adams. We just have Ladd McConkey. We don't have 2 studs that Matthew Stafford has. So that's why I'm going to have to switch. I get that little edge to Stafford. I really do. He has 2 legitimate weapons, just like Dak Prescott has with CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Shout out to my boy Derek, who loves his Dallas Cowboys. Here I am in DFW, but man, I can't do that. But shout out to Derek and those Cowboy Nation. But now, as I said, Matthew Stafford's got 2 legitimate weapons. We got Ladd, we got QJ, but QJ is the boom or bust player. You got 2 legitimate with Puka, and you got Devontae Adams. So that I have to, even though I said I have Herbert higher, I'd have to flip it around and say Stafford is for me because of that offense he's in. And we saw what Matthew Stafford did last year. So, but as I said, I'm just my own fantasy manager, but everyone drafts on their own cognizance and on what they think is best. But hey, to all suits their own. But for me, I have to go Stafford this year over Herbert, as much as I hate saying it, but it's legit because of that offense. But it is what it is. But I mean, Stafford absolutely earned respect in 2025. You saw the tugs he put up, the touchdowns, the yards, everything. He was an MVP for not for nothing. Yes, Herbert's younger, but as I said, that offense. And I mean, Herbert has one of the strongest deep ball arms in the league. I ain't gonna lie. Matthew Stafford's up there now, but if they protect him, and he could, what he did last year, he probably can put up those numbers again. I mean, we know what Puka is. We know what and you got to get a full year out of Devontae Adams. So, they had their injuries last year. If they can stay healthy, man, these LA offenses are going to be a beautiful thing to have in fantasy football in 2026. That ain't lying. If it's the Rams or if it's the goddamn Chargers, they are going to be both high-powered offenses to have in fantasy football in 2026. So, for those that are getting ready for fantasy football, it's draft time soon, so it's coming up. So that's why I'm trying to make these segments not just about the segments, but also the fantasy aspect for y'all to have information going forward. But as JD, you want to pull up that segment 2 picture? Alrighty, I try to each week now say, is there a breakout Charger player? Yo, Soundwave Nick, what up? Yes, you're back. What's up? Where's your invite? No. Soundwave, this one is all me. This is the Ears to the Street show. This is me. If there's an invite, I'll let you know, and we'll deal with that another time. But right now, this one's my podcast. But if you need I'll let you know. Appreciate it. Maybe one time when we face your Jaguars, you are more than welcome to come on. I'll happily have you on the guest. And if I need someone to come on, I'll let JD know, and you're more than welcome to come on. But I hope you're doing well, and we'll tap in another time, man. We got a game tomorrow, so you're more than welcome to tap in with us then. Awesome. Hey, hey, Emil, you know me, man. It's some short notice. You got to give me some wiggle room here. No, man, shout out to Soundwave Nick. I appreciate him coming on our streams. It was a pleasure doing World Cup action with him and all that kind of stuff. But, hey, I'm in my zone. I'm in not my auto zone, my Charger zone. So we're there. Yeah, the Spain and Belgium game's a hell of a one. But now, as for I said, I'll bring out Breakout Bolt. I'm going to say Justin Ibuke. If I said that right, is he ready to become the Chargers' next defensive star? Well, we shall see. One of the biggest bright spots of the Chargers in 2025 on the defense may have flown under the radar, and that just was Justin Ibuke. After a quiet rookie season, Ibuke made a huge step in year 2. Even though he made just one start, he's carved out a role in the Chargers' defensive line rotation and became one of the most productive interior pass rushers for the Chargers last year. His stats last year were breakout stats: 39 total tackles, 27 solos, 6 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 10 QB hits. Hey, I like these breakout stars, these young kids that Harbaugh is drafting and with Ortiz. Hey, Coupon Tom Telesco could not find these gems. Joe Ortiz has found at least 2 to 3 players in each draft we have with them, and they're coming out as starters or breakout players that are going to help this team. And I'm loving because Telesco couldn't pull out these kind of players in the draft. And this is what I love about Joe Ortiz. He knows the value of the player. He sees the potential. And here, man, we got him on our team. I'm loving this, man. Our defense is going to look good. With O'Leary in the fold, I think we're going to be good. I'm not real too shook about, I was shook a little bit at first about Minter leaving. That is what it is. It's a business. But, man, it's next man up. Look on. Where the Bones? Oh, Bones is with Bogey. I don't babysit Bones. The only time I babysit Bones last year in Vegas. Other than that, Bones is Bones. Bones can just have his own zip code, have his own room, whatever. But, hey, I don't worry about Bones. Bones is not my property. That's Bogey's property. Hey, I'll deal with that when the time comes. That's next month. I'll say hi to Bones and just go on with business. But no, those are impressive numbers for a rotational defensive lineman and just show how destructive he can become given his opportunities. Scary part is Justin Herbert is just getting started. I love what the Chargers are doing on defense. They have a young defense. Bogey is mad. Hey, Bogey ain't mad. Yeah, I'm just giving Bones some kind of shit. I always give Bones hell. You can ask fella. Bones is just Bones. He just hangs there. But you know what? I'll see Bones in about 43 days. Say hi, say bye. Hello, and bye. That's it. This trip was fun last year, but you know what? It's a business trip. 72-hour business trip. We're there for take the fella's belt. That's all we're there for. The fella knows. We're there for that belt. He's the champ for a reason. Got to stay focused. As I said, with another offseason, the Charger system has continued to develop. Don't be surprised if he earns significantly more snaps in 2026, Justin Herbert. His contribution, his power, his athleticism, and his ability to collapse the pocket gives the Chargers another dangerous weapon alongside an already talented defensive front. If the snaps count increases, you should see in his production. This could be a season where Justin Herbert is going from a rotational contribution, becoming one of the Chargers' most impactful defensive linemen. Now, as I said, I'm going to bring in the fantasy impact. Don't forget to check your mute button. Hey, my mute button is perfectly fine. I don't need to. It's lit up. It's white. There's no red there. If it was red, that means I got a stop sign. I ain't worried about that. No soup for you. So I'm good to go. Thank you, Nick. But as the fantasy impact for Justin Herbert, position for the defensive line, DL/DT, in most IDP leagues that we all play, Derek, myself, JD, fella, Bogey, Kidda, you name it. I'm going to say this. About 48 to 55 total tackles, 6 to 8 sacks. He had 6 last year. So I'm 9 to 12 tackles for loss, 15 to 18 QB hits. These are all on growth from what he went last year. I'd say 1 forced fumble. Let's hope. But I say he's a defensive lineman between 3 with the potential of a DL2, possibly, if his snap count continues to grow. That's all I'm saying there. Now, his dynasty, if in dynasty, he's about DL 25 to a DL 35 for me, making him a late round sleeper in dynasty drafts. But other than that, that's what you're looking for in the IDP is those late sleepers. This is a name, I think I do have like 2 or 3 shares of him. And lucky last year I scooped him up because people didn't take him. I'm like, okay, I'll just take a flyer on him. He worked out for some things, but as I said, he's like a Quentin Johnson. He's boom or bust. But hey, he was solid last year, so he's still sitting there on my roster. But hey, we shall see how much I use him this year. But on to that one. Now, as I said, I'm going to try to bring each week a breakout star. Like I've had, Trey Harris. This way, I'll bring in a defensive lineman. Who knows? Next week, I'll have something on the offensive line. Who knows? But that'll be next week. But on that note, JD, you want to pull up the segment? The shout out to my boy Derek right here. All right. Derek is my buddy who is a diehard Cowboys fan. Shout out to Derek and Cowboy Nation. Well, Rich Eisen. I don't know, man. He said the Chargers could be a Super Bowl bound team this year. Now, I love the expectations by Rich Eisen, but then again, he's also a Michigan fan. Where does our coach come from? Michigan. So to me, it's a little biased for Rich Eisen. Hey, I knew he was a Michigan guy. He loves his Michigan people, but hey, he's just riding the coattails of Jim Harbaugh. But I love him saying that. But as I said a little earlier too, you have George Pickens and you have CeeDee Lamb. That's a hell of an offense. And you have Dak Prescott and Jake Ferguson. That offense is legit over there for the Cowboys. And I live here in DFW. I ain't going to lie. If the Cowboys actually stay healthy, they can do something this year in the NFC. But, hey, that's why they play the game. But, hey, shout out to my boy, Derek. I look forward to seeing you next month, man. It's going to be fun. But now I get to that one, I'm going to call this one a Herbert breakthrough. Rich Eisen feels the Chargers are Super Bowl contenders. And that's what he says bound, but I'm going to be realistic. I'm not going to put a Super Bowl bound. I'll say we can be possibly Super Bowl contenders. We just got to get through the gauntlet of the schedule first and then to the playoffs. And Emil, exactly. And Javonte. They have a good enough offense this year. If they stay healthy, Dallas, we talked about on the show this morning. I know JD is a big fan of what CD can do, and we know the fella loves George Pickens. So we know if he gets hit. I know he's playing on the tag right now, but if he gets signed, that man could go off this year with Dak Prescott and CD. So, and as Emil said, you add Javonte Williams, that could be a scary offense for Dallas this year. And they got really better on defense. So there's really not much that the Cowboys did what they needed to do. They got those 2 rookies that they needed to get. And hey, shout out to Derek and the Cowboys. But Rich Eisen, he's choosing Justin Herbert and Dak Prescott to make he thinks they could make their first Super Bowl appearance. But he's taking Justin Herbert as revealed as over the Cowboys. Now, I feel that's Rich Eisen being a Michigan homer and more towards Jim Harbaugh. But realistically, do I see it? I really think we can make a deep pause run this year. Am I going to say Super Bowl? I would love to be that way. But how our last exits have been one and done. I don't want to get my expectations too high. I'm hoping to make the playoffs this year, make a deep run pause. We shall see. But I ain't going to say, hey, we're that Super Bowl contender. I think we can just get to the playoffs this year, make a run. But I'm not going to go that far and say we're Super Bowl. I want to see what we got to do in the playoffs first and get there and then win the first game, because I'm always sick of hearing, one and done, you're bye-bye. No. I just want to get in the playoffs this year, get to the season. I think we can win the AFC West this year. And I really do think we can be the AFC West champs since 2009. I really do. I'll stick my hand up right now and say we are going to be the AFC West champs. The fella knows he thinks the Chargers are going to win the division this year. I do too. I really do. If all things come together, we can do that. But as for, am I going to say we are a Super Bowl caliber team? I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to say we're a great team. What we have on paper, we stay healthy and get into the playoffs. And what Mike McDaniels can do, we could be a scary team. But we're not even at the season yet. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and put my expectations high. But I have high expectations for the season with Mike McDaniels. That's fact. But we shall see what happens. I will agree with the LA Chargers. Yeah, I really do think they can win that division this year. If we stay healthy, yeah, I think we do. Long as we stay away from those 3-point games, those close games, I really do think we can play with anyone. I ain't gonna lie, our schedule is not an easy schedule this year. Nick, if you look at our schedule from week 3 to 10, as you said, we did yesterday on the stream, it's not an easy schedule. But I feel personally, if we get through that schedule with at least 3 or 4 wins on there, I'm happy with that. I feel that schedule right there is a nasty gauntlet. But if we get through that nasty gauntlet pause of the schedule with 4 wins, I'll be happy as going forward. But then again, with the AFC West in general did get some hard schedules, but it is a hard division anyways. But you know what? Every team gets a schedule. Some may get an easy schedule. Some may get a cupcake schedule. Some may get something nasty hard. We happen to get a rough schedule in a patch, but hey, it's the schedule we're dealt and what we got to do. Nick and Lee, you'll be live for the England and Norway game tomorrow, bro. Yes, sir, we will. And Nick will have his time on the stream, and that's good, you know. I look forward to having Nick knows the soccer. That's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. But, you know, if you break it down, for years the conversation is Justin Herbert hasn't been about talent. It's been about playoff success. I know that that's his only knock. And as I said, how did Peyton Manning do? His first 3 playoff starts were 0-3. Yes, he got a few rings, but he still started off 0-3. I think that knock on Justin Herbert gets off his back this year. He gets that monkey off his back. I swear to God. Well, I think once that happens, it's going to be fine. From 3 to 7, yeah, Nick, you look at weeks 3 to 10 on our schedule. It is kind of brutal. It's not a fun schedule. You got a lot of AFC West, AFC battles. You got NFC teams there. You got Super Bowl champions. Let's look at it, and I'll talk to you about it tomorrow night. It's legit. Everyone in the chat, yo, I'm all set on that, JD. He can keep Duval up there all he wants. That's all that matters, you know. But as I said, everyone knows Herbert has one of the strongest. I'm not gonna say the strongest arm, but one of the strongest arms in football. He can make every throw. He can extend plays with his legs. He can even elevate players around him. But the postseason has remained one of the things missing from otherwise being an outstanding career. That's the only thing that follows Justin Herbert is the playoff. I will help on the other game, but depends. Oh yeah, you said he has work for the first, but he'll be there for the second. Hey, Nick, whatever you are, that's kind of cool, man. It is what it is. But now things feel different. Jim Harbaugh has brought a winning culture to the Los Angeles Chargers. The front office has continued investing in the roster, fixing that offensive line. The defense is getting younger and faster. And the offense has added new pieces designed to help Justin Herbert play his best football. There you go. That's why analyst Rich Eisen believes the Chargers team is built to compete with anyone in the AFC. I ain't going to lie. I love the statement, but to compete, you got to beat the best. You got to beat the Chiefs. We beat the Chiefs twice last year. But then again, the Chiefs this year, they're going to have a kind of comeback Mahomes player. So I see the first game we pay Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, we're not going to see the Mahomes. We're going to see, I think we see him I think it's week 4. I think it's in the early of the season. I think it's between week 4 and 5. We see Mahomes, but hey, Mahomes ain't going to be scrambling that much. But I feel the second game, we may see a little bit more Mahomey. And I ain't going to worry. I'm going to look forward to those games this year. It's going to be fun. But hey, Herbert needs some lightning in his runs. Nick, did you see how Herbert ran last year? He ran for quite a few yards last year. He was running for his GD life last year quite a bit. I ain't going to say you're going to see Herbert run like he ran last year. You may, but I don't want to because he's going to have an offensive line. And the man that's going to be running ain't going to be Justin Herbert. It's going to be a bump, Amari and Hampton that's going to do all that running this year. So I ain't too worried about that. Hell no, not like T-Law. I ain't worried about that guy. T-Law, it is what it is. You know, they call him Never Lawrence. What has he done? Never Lawrence. That's what he is. He's Never Lawrence. So we call him on the channel, Never Lawrence. But hey, why Herbert over Dak? Both quarterbacks are still chasing their first Super Bowl appearance, but Herbert may have the better situation entering 2026. Elite arm talent, mobility. Hey, I ain't going to say Dak's got a damn good arm. He's got damn good receivers over at CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, as I said. But hey, man, it's two all suits. I'm a Chargers fan, so I'm always going to go with the Chargers over the rival team. As much as I say Dak Prescott has a great offense, he does. He has a great offensive cast. You can't go wrong with he has Ferguson, CD, Pickens. He's got a hell of a line too. So to me, hey man, it is what it is. Shout out to my boy Derek though. I mean, you got an ascending young defense for the Chargers, an offense expected to take another step forward this year, a roster that believes that we are among the AFC most complete teams. Also, we do feel we're a complete team now. We got Njoku. We got our offensive pieces. We got a young defense. We got a great offensive line now that's healthy. Come on now. What's stopping us? Ourselves. That's what I feel. The AFC won't be easy with teams like Kansas City, Buffalo, Baltimore. And you got Cincinnati with Joey Burrow back for a full year, possibly. So I ain't going to lie. But the Chargers stay healthy. There's every reason to believe they belong in that conversation as one of the top teams this year. But I ain't going to lie. But as for the fantasy football impact I said about Justin Herbert, I said between 4,500 yards and 4,700 or 4,800 yards, 32 to 36 passing touchdowns, 350 to 500 rushing yards potentially. He had 731 last year. And I say so maybe 3 to 5 rushing touchdowns for Justin Herbert. Now, if you look at the fantasy side, Herbert offers one of the best fantasy floors because of the contributor, both through the air and with his legs. We know Dak Prescott really does not run too much. He used to in his first couple of years. Then when he had that nasty ankle injury pause, you really didn't see too much running from Dak. So to me, I said I said earlier today with Spencer, if Herbert hits his full potential, he has legitimate top 5 QB overall upside. Now, hey, Rich Eisen, he's going to pull with the Chargers. But I ain't going to lie. Dak Prescott is a hell of a quarterback, has a hell of an offense, and has a great offensive line too. So he has the protection. We shall see. I mean, I'm going to keep all these notes and say, hey, at the end of the season, I can always come back at the end of the season and do a recap of some of my segments and say, man, JD does it with his accountability show. Maybe I might do one next year the beginning of next year and say, man, I said this, I said that, I was wrong. I was wrong on that. But you know what? As JD does it, he takes the accountability. Maybe I should too in my shows too. At the end of the year, and then say, hey, man, I said this and I was wrong. But you know what? We all make mistakes, but it's also fantasy football. That's why we're fantasy managers, not real life GMs also too. But on that note, man, I feel the Chargers have the pieces in place just as well as the Dallas Cowboys have it in place. So it's to all suit your own in fantasy football. Do you want Dak or do you want Justin Herbert? I mean, we're gonna go up. For me, it's also like I'm gonna attach myself to an offense quarterback that also has good players around him. CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson, and Pickens. That is nasty. That's a nasty trio right there. But then you got Herbert, you got Quentin Johnson, Ladd, and you got Hampton, and you also got to throw in, as Emil said earlier, Javonte Williams over there in Dallas. So he has 4 solid players. Yeah, I mean, I do have a Chargers logo if you need it. Oh, Nick, don't get me wrong. When it comes to Chargers logo, there's only one Chargers logo that's my favorite, and it's this one right here from the 70s. That is my favorite Chargers logo. If there's anything I love my Chargers, it's this logo right here. I love the Bolt, but when it comes down to the old school logo, give me this all day, every day. That's my favorite Chargers logo of all time. If I could buy Chargers gear, which I have a numerous amount of Chargers gear, it would be that logo right there. It's a white logo with the, hey, you can always send it to me, Nick. I'll give you ways to find me on socials or whatnot. You probably can just find me through socials through JD too, because you're going to see me on all those with JD and whatnot. But other than that, you can connect through me that way and you can get it to me. But on that note, man, I really do think if it's Dak Prescott, if it's Justin Herbert, as I said, it depends on a fantasy manager, how they're drafting and all that kind of stuff. But hey, draft season's approaching. For us that are going to Vegas, I've already started doing my homework now. And with these rankings Spencer's doing, I know they're redraft, but we're dynasty. I got to just get this redraft out of my head and dive into the dynasty rankings because I really got no time. It's 43 days away. And those 43 days are going to go quick, and it's little time. It's shows here, shows there. I love this. I love the streams. I love the shows with JD, Bogey, Kidda, all that. But man, I got to start grinding. It's do or die time to get ready for because the fella, as I said in that video, you got the belt, but it's coming home. But on that note, I'm going to wrap up that segment. And JD, you want to pull up segment number 4? All right. I know I've been talking and stuff about our defense. Well, this one was out maybe late last week when I just as ended the last show. So I pulled it up for this week. And it says, are the Chargers about to have an elite defense in 2026? I sure the hell hope so. I think our defense that we had last year with Jesse Minter, am I going to say we're going to be right there where we were? I don't think so. I think we're going to take a gradual step down. Not much. I know it's Chris O'Leary, but I don't think we're going to take much of a dip down. But I do take a small hit. But I do think this year, our defense is going to attack the quarterback a lot more this year. And you can clip that one. I really think we're going to attack the quarterback, go after the quarterbacks a lot more this year, our defense. So I really like that. So when people talk about the Los Angeles Chargers entering the 2026 season, the conversation usually starts with Justin Herbert, Jim Harbaugh, and the offense we got. But there's what I think is flying under the radar. I've been talking about players. This young defense looks good. This Chargers defense has a chance to be one of the deepest and the most complete units in all of the NFL. Last season, the Chargers quietly finished among the league's better defenses, allowing just 18.9 points per game, recording 45 sacks, and tying third in the NFL with 19 interceptions, led by Derwin James and all that defense. We're not like we brought almost everyone back. We lost some defensive players, but we brought everyone on our defense back. Now ask yourself this. What if this defense is even better in 2026? The defensive line, everything starts up front. We brought back Khalil Mack for one more year. Continues to prove he can change the game with his pass rush, while Tully Tolupo is developing to one of the ASC's most dangerous young passers. I mean, Tully, I'm just going to call him Tully. I always mess up that name. Booga said, Lee, I'm going to call you out. Hey, it's all good, man. I got to learn that name, but I'm going to call him Tully or call him TT. That might be easier. We got some dangerous edge rushers. And then you bring on the fella who loves his Miami Hurricanes. We brought over Hakeem Messidor. So this defense is going to be nasty in 2026. I said we got young edge rushers. Then you add the emerging stars like who I mentioned earlier, Justin Herbert, who broke out with 6 sacks and his rotational role. First-round pick, Hakeem Messidor, who's going to be a stud and a fantasy darling, I feel, this year. And suddenly the Chargers have a wave after wave of pass rushers. Come on now. We haven't paid Tully, but, man, we got to pay that man too. I did have some news towards the end of the show, but we may not like that. But I really hope Joe Ortiz gets this taken care of soon because I feel Tully is a cornerstone for our team. But we got pass rushers who can keep the court uncomfortable for 4 quarters of football. Depth wins championships. And the Chargers finally have depth on the defensive line. Now, let me go with the linebackers. Linebackers have become one of the most physical groups on the roster for once. Veteran leadership mixed with younger talent gives the defense speed from sideline to sideline. Stopping the run, covering the tight ends, creating turnovers, all the areas that this group makes significant jumps this year. Now the secondary, we know our secondary is legit, and it's led by Derwin freaking James. As I said, he is the leader on that defense, and that is Derwin James. He remains one of the most NFL versatile defensive players in secondary, but whether he's rushing, passer, covering tight ends, playing deep safety, we know Derwin James plays in multiple spots, and he likes to play ball. I remember early in the season this year, I talked about Derwin James playing almost 4 to 5 different positions, and his stats are ridiculous on those. But seriously, Derwin can impact the game in multiple ways every single Sunday. Around him, the Chargers added youth, athleticism, and versatility on the secondary, giving defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary options to disguise coverage and also generate more takeaways this season. I think we're going to do that. I feel this secondary under Chris O'Leary is going to be a lot better than last year. He said in training in OTAs that this secondary did look a lot better than it was last year. Now, hey, that's just talk. But hey, if that happens to not just be talk, just talk, and it's action on the field, I'm going to love that stuff for sure. But I honestly believe this defense doesn't get enough national respect because it's the Los Angeles Chargers, unfortunately. That's why everyone talks about Baltimore, Kansas City, Houston, Philadelphia. The names that always talk about defenses. Yes, we know the teams have legit defenses. Hey, now we'll see what Baltimore now has with Minter. He can make that defense even better. We shall see. But the Chargers have quietly built one of the deepest defensive rosters in football. If the pass rush stays where it is, young players continue to develop, this defense, I feel, has legitimate to be a top 5 defense potential-wise. And if that happens, Justin Herbert won't have to win every game by himself. And that's how championships are built. Look at the San Francisco 49ers in the heyday. Look at the Dallas Cowboys when they won theirs. But just look, defense wins championships. I'm not saying it's this year, but I know the Chargers are in the right direction. So to me, now I said I'd mention, if you're looking at Derwin James as a safety, his fantasy outlook is a DB1. Easy. His projected stats, I'm going to say between 95 and 105 tackles, 3 to 5 sacks. That's usually what he arranges around it. 2 to 4 interceptions, 8 to 10 pass breakups, 2 forced fumbles. Now, as for Derwin, I think as I said, he's a DB1. Now, as for TT Tully, an edge. I mentioned it last time. Fantasy, he's a DL1 upside also. His projected stats, I'd say this. 55 to 65 tackles, 10 to 12 sacks. He had 16 last year. I really do think 10 to 12, but I really do think Tully can just do more. I'm going to say 10 to 12, but I really think Tully's he's gotten better every single year. I'll say 15 plus QB hits and 2 forced fumbles for Tully. Now, as for the old man, Khalil Mack, I'm going to say he's a DL2. His projected stats, I'll say between 45 and 55 tackles, 8 to 10 sacks, which has been his norm, and multiple forced fumbles. We know he did that against Aaron freaking Rodgers on Sunday Night Football. And what happened? The Chargers won because of that GD forced fumble. So I see Khalil Mack. He may be old, but he still has it. Now, as for I mentioned, Justin Herbert, DL sleeper. I think he's a DL sleeper. So if you're looking for a defensive lineman sleeper in fantasy drafts, hey, take a flyer on him. It might work out. As I said, I told you his projected slaps, about 50 tackles, 79 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. But as I said, the Chargers defensive in general, I think they can be a top 10 defense with top 5 upside. And I'll say that again, a top 10 defense and top 5 upside. Why? Elite passer depth, playmakers in the secondary, more opportunities for sacks and turnovers, a balanced offense that should help the defense stay fresh. We have depth for a change, something the Los Angeles Chargers do not. Okay, Nick, then we'll take care of that. And after the show, I'll reach out to you and we'll handle it. But to me, I mean, I think if you're looking for a defense in fantasy football, the Chargers aren't a bad one to have. You can get them in the later rounds. The Chargers have been a great defense the past 4 years in fantasy football. So nothing wrong with that for fantasy-wise. But you know what? I feel the Chargers, as I said, they could be a top 10 defense with the top 5 upside on that one. All right, JD, that's the end of that one. Can I have segment 5? And that's going to be the small details. And there we go. I know I mentioned that Mike McDaniel is been working on several things with Justin Herbert in OTAs and possibly more. Timing, accuracy, many things, footwork. But hey, this is where I think all these small details is where we got to unlock Justin Herbert. And as I said, these small details that could unlock Justin Herbert to an MVP caliber season. Hold on a second. So, when people think about Justin Herbert, first things that come to their mind is his elite arm strength, pinpoint accuracy, and ability to make throws that very few quarterbacks can make in the NFL. But entering the 2026 NFL season, the biggest story might not be the arm strength at all. It might be about Justin Herbert's feet. As I said last week and maybe the week before, they're working on his footwork, his accuracy, and a lot of different things. Sometimes the difference between a Pro Bowl quarterback and an MVP candidate isn't just making those particular spectacular throws or small little things. It's also the small little details you have to work on, mastering the little details like his footwork, his accuracy. Hey, if all those things add up for Justin Herbert with Mike McDaniel, this could be his best football ever. And the best football that leads Justin Herbert's hand, man. His timing was 2.7 last year, and they say he's knocked it up by half of that. That's exactly the offense coordinator Mike McDaniel is focusing and his attention on Justin Herbert. Why the footwork matters. Quarterbacks play starts from the ground up. Every drop back pass, every hitch, every reset in the pocket, every throwing platform. It all begins with the proper footwork. You have the proper footwork, amazing things can happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing all these changes in Justin Herbert that Mike McDaniel is going to bring. Mike McDaniel's offensive system is built on rhythm, timing, and anticipation, and getting the ball out quickly. Pause. And that's one thing we did not see last year because of our offensive line. Now, if we can do that, it's going to be a beautiful thing this year for the Los Angeles Chargers. I mean, if Justin Herbert stays connected to his all these things that he's working on, Mike, I see why not things are going to fall into place. I mean, McDaniel's reportedly been emphasizing Herbert's lower body mechanics, drop back timing, pocket movement, throwing rhythm, base and balance, faster throwing progressions, improved anticipation, consistent release point, so getting the ball out in time, and his accuracy and his timing. We know Justin Herbert's timing is there, but just add these small little details to these things. It could be a beautiful thing. Some of these things may seem like small adjustments. They can have a massive impact in the end. And of course, for the rest of the season, it could be a wonderful thing. All these small little adjustments that Justin Herbert's going to learn this year for 1 year, that I feel Mike McDaniel's here, is only going to help him going forward. Faster feet equals faster decisions. Justin Herbert doesn't need a stronger arm. He has that. What makes a great quarterback is truly elite in the ability to process that information quickly. We know Justin Herbert, they thought he was going to take 3 or 4 weeks to learn the Mike McDaniel system. It took him 3 or 4 days. The kid is a genius. He knows his football. He's got a football mind. Now let's put that mind to work. I feel the faster Herbert's feet are synced with his feet and hands, man, this kid's going to move fast. If we get the ball out fast this year, Paul, it's going to be a beautiful thing for this offense. Just think of all these timing things from Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, Trey Harris, KLS, Njoku, Gatson. We have a young nucleus on offense. It's going to be a special thing in LA this year. But instead of, we built this offense around Justin Herbert to his strength and to his abilities. I mean, we're building off a strong 2025. Herbert already delivered another productive season in 25, 3,700 passing yards, 28 passing touchdowns. So, to me, now it's the Mike McDaniel effect. What does Mike McDaniel bring to this offense? But most of all, what does he bring to Justin Herbert? He's going to take him from, as I said, I feel this is where Mike McDaniel takes Justin Herbert from the quarterback he is right now to that elite status quarterback. Now, we just got to put all these small tangibles into place that they're working on. Man, I'm looking forward to this season. I wish the season was here now. But I know we're about, technically we're now about 10 Sundays away from football. Chargers football is going to be here before we know it. So we got to have the Hall of Fame game coming up in August. And then we got to have football right on the corner. I know we have football about 20 days after I come home from Las Vegas. So football is going to be here before we know it. I mean, if Mike McDaniel isn't trying to invert Justin Herbert, he's trying to polish him. And if he polishes Justin Herbert to a quarterback and to a better quarterback, this is going to be a special year. The focus is on changing Herbert is quicker 3-step drops, better weight transfer on the back foot to the front foot, cleaner pocket movement. Our pocket last year was horrible because of our tackles and our offensive line. But as I said, you add all these tackles we didn't have last year. You add Biotish, you add Cole Strange, all these things this year we didn't have last year. You just take into account. Justin Herbert last year was running for his life. Now, if Justin Herbert doesn't have to run for his life this year and has time to throw the football this year, that could be a very special thing, not just for the Los Angeles Chargers, but also for fantasy football managers too. So look at it that way. I mean, when you can keep your body upright, keep your jersey clean, You're going to have time to throw the football. And that's why I think this year could be Justin Herbert's biggest year yet. Championship quarterbacks aren't just solely by talent. They're made by mastering the fundamentals. Just look at what Peyton Manning did. Look at Tom Brady did. They both have rings, but they only improve each year at their craft and at their abilities. So Justin Herbert always possessed the physical tools, though. Now you got to put those physical tools to work and show that you can do it all. And I think this year you're going to see more explosive plays from the passing plays, a higher completion percentage than you saw last year, more touchdowns in the red zone now that we have a red zone target, fewer negative plays for sure this year I think was going to be there, and better efficiency on third downs. That was one thing last year, was our third down and our red zone offense was horrible last year. This offense could be capable of competing with any team, I think, in the NFL this year. If all these things go good, fantasy outlook is going to be wonderful for Los Angeles Chargers offensive players this year going forward. I mean, Justin Herbert could have a hell of a year. If all these things fall into place, it's going to be a wonderful thing for the Los Angeles Chargers. And on that note, I'm going to call that segment a wrap. All right, JD, you want to pull up number 6? Thank you. All right, I'm going to call this one Justin Herbert Survived the Chaos. And now imagine what is next. One of the most overlooked storylines in the 2025 NFL season wasn't just Justin Herbert, arm talent, toughness, even the highlight throws he had. Yeah. He faced more pressure last year than any quarterback in the NFL during the 25 season. He continued to stand tall in the pocket, even though he was hit, sacked, pressured numerous times. He still delivered with and extended plays with his legs and kept the Chargers offense moving week in, week out. But time after time, he absorbed big hits, escaped collapsing pockets, and made throws that very few quarterbacks in the league could make under that pressure. Then again, he had no tackles last year. So that's the reason why. But that's what as I said, that's what separates average quarterbacks to elite quarterbacks, and also for the good ones. But when everything breaks down around you, really not much you can do. Given that he gave the team a chance. We got into the playoffs last year. Now imagine what happens now this year with Justin Herbert, with the tackles, and with all these new pieces on the offensive line. It's going to be pass protection, and that's what's going to be a key for Justin Herbert. He's going to have time to throw the football. And if this offensive line takes the next step in 2026, this offense could look completely different than it did in 2025. And Herbert having more time to throw the ball, to work through his progressions, attack the defenses downfield, build chemistry with the receivers more, and allow the running game, which I think is going to thrive this year. And I will get to that very soon too. I think this run game is going to be a beautiful thing. Keep one of the NFL's biggest stars healthy over the course of a 17-game season in Justin Herbert. This isn't just reducing the sack rate, unlocking to his full potential of a quarterback. You have already proven he can thrive under constant pressure. We saw that week in, week out last year, how much pressure Justin Herbert had, how many times he was hit, pressured, sacked. As I said, I was getting sick and tired of keeping track of those stats last year. But I really do think the scary part of the rest of the league, man, if you keep Justin Herbert clean, upright, man, this could be end time to throw the ball. Just imagine what can happen. He's going to prove the league wrong this year. You know, as I said, everyone says he's an average quarterback. I'm going to say this year he's going to show he's much more than an average quarterback. So we shall see. I can say this every single week that he's not an average quarterback, that he's going to be elite. I feel you can clip that. He's going to be an elite quarterback this year for football, in football and for fantasy football manager. I got Justin Herbert, I think, 3 places this year. I know I may have one more. We shall see. The fella and I have to talk about that. We may strike a deal in Las Vegas. Who knows? We shall see what happens. We'll figure it out, JD. We always do. But you know what? On that note, I'm going to wrap up that segment right there. But on the next segment, segment 7, JD, let's go. And this one hits home because this one's close to TCU. And that's where I live. Not that far. LT, baby. 20 bloody years. Pause. Did this happen? His MVP season. That magical, one of the best running back seasons we will ever see in football history was done by Latamian Tomlinson. And that was with the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to call this one the greatest running back season in NFL has ever seen, was revisiting LT's legendary 2006 MVP campaign. And I said that. It was 20 years ago this happened. And we're still talking about it. Well, I am. Good reason? When people discuss the greatest individual seasons in NFL history, the names like Jerry Rice, Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson, and Randy Moss always come up. But you're talking about the most complete season by a skill position player? I don't think anyone tops on what Damon Tomlinson did in 2006. That was a special year of football, especially what LT did. Think he didn't just lead the league. He completely changed. Every defensive coordinator had to prepare for every single freaking week. He rushed for an NFL record 28 rushing touchdowns, added 3 receiving touchdowns, giving him 31 total touchdowns, while piling up 2,300 yards from scrimmage. Every time the Chargers crossed midfield, defenses already asking themselves, how do we stop number 21, LaDainian Tomlinson? The scary part wasn't just the production. It's how we did it. The vision was second to none with LT. He would press the hole, freeze the linebackers with the subtle cut. I remember that little juke to the side, and it was bye-bye. The defenders couldn't even realize, he's gone. What happened? He was racing through the secondary. His balance, his patience, his burst of speed. But his football IQ made him the impossible to defend. Inside the 5-yard line, it felt like it was an automatic touchdown for LT. Need a big play? LT delivered that year. And I swear to God, that was a magical season. If you needed to keep a drive and the defense alive, that was your answer. It was LT. Shout out to the Hard to Start podcast, JD. Shout out to Neon Peacock, Spain won. Nice. Woohoo! Shout out to Bogey and the General Net. Shout out to the whole crew, man. I can't wait to rock with y'all. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate each and every one of you, man. Thank you for tuning in, man. That Spain game. Spain won. Netherlands out. But now LT was a special player. But that was a special year too. But I don't next time we see a running back. Now, to me, if I had to say the running backs this year of who could have a LaDainian Tomlinson season, I'm going to say it's either Bijan Robinson or it's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs. To me, that wasn't even part of my show. I'm just feeling if I had to say have an LT season like this year would be either Bijan or Jahmyr Gibbs. That's what I feel. I think they're both probably the most talented running back in the league. The two of them together right there and then. But, man, there was only one LT. That was a special year. Do I think we'll see that 31 touchdowns again? I mean, anything's possible, but that was a magical year for LT and for the Chargers. We had the best offense and defense, but we folded in the playoffs. And that's when it counts. You can't really fold in the playoffs, especially when you have a best offense and defense. But, man, you can have a magical season. Statistically wise, that's a great individual year. That's also a team sport. But we kind of folded that year. That kind of sucked. That was a rough year, pause. And that was rough for us. But, I mean, as I said, Jerry Rice had, you had Barry Sanders in 1997, I believe it was. I think it was Adrian Peterson in 2012 or 2013. I could be wrong on the date on that one. But Jerry Rice had a magical year in 1987, and you had Randy Moss. I think it was '07 or '08. And they're all great players, but you had LTs in '06. So to me, that was a hell of a year to watch. Yeah. I'm going to have to rewatch that game. Bogey and Peacock, appreciate the news on that. I really do appreciate that. But hey, to me, that was one of the best years in football of a statistical wise for one person. But as I said, Jerry Rice had his, AP had his, Randy Moss. There's many players that have these one great seasons. But hey, that was a special LT year. And I picked that one because it was close to home, and TCU is right down the street, and that's where LT went to college. So, but he was also playing for the Chargers, so you know that it's always going to be there. But on that note, I'm going to wrap that one up there. But I think we got another Chargers player now. Hey, if I'm going to talk about LT, is now who are we looking at in 2026 is having a breakout explosion here? It's going to be boom, boom, boom. I think this boy's going to explode this year. I ain't going to lie. Many people who I know, from Booga Peters to Taylor Bloom to many Chargers content creators, think this is the year Omarion Hampton breaks the hell out in this Mike McDaniel system this year. I'm looking forward to it. I hope all that stuff that last year, the injuries behind him, stays healthy this year. He could have a special, special year. Well, I'll get to it. I'm going to call this one the Omarion Hampton explosion. Why year 2 could turn the Charger star into an NFL and a fantasy football superstar. So on that note, as I said, one of the biggest storylines heading into the 2026-2027 Los Angeles Chargers season isn't just Herbert, McConkey, Quentin Johnson. It's Omarion Hampton. We have playoff expectations. Omarion, take us to the promised land, my friend. Let's go. What year 2 could look like for Omarion Hampton? Let's be honest. Hampton's rookie season showed exactly why the Chargers invested a high pick on him. His power, his patience, and his outstanding vision. I know Booga Peters said to me, he felt he was the best running back in the draft last year. Now, everyone has their choices on that, but hey, he was a hell of a pick. We drafted number 12. I think it was it was first round, so it was the 12th pick that year. So yeah. But hey, we invested a high pick, but I'm saying what looked like a 2-yard gain for Omarion Hampton was a 6 or 7-yard game. He punished defenders late in the game, moved the chains, protected the football, and proved he could carry the workload against NFL defenses last year when he was on the field, as I said. That was a key thing last year. He was injured, so we really didn't get to see the Omarion Hampton that possibly we could see this year. Now, here's where things get really exciting for Omarion Hampton in 2026. Enter the offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniels. As I've said a couple of times each week, you remember what he did with Devon Achane over in Miami. Look what he's doing now. If there's one coach in football who knows how to maximize a running game, it's Mike McDaniel. We know what he did in San Francisco with Mozart. He had that magical 2023 season. That was a wonderful year for fantasy football and for Mozart owners. Now, can Mike McDaniel do this with Omarion Hampton? I mean, we know McDaniel's going to run all these crazy schemes, stress defenses, motion, misdirection, outside zone concept, creative formations. But remember what I keep on saying? We didn't have those explosive plays last year. I feel this year in the Mike McDaniel offense, we're going to have explosive plays and plays designed that force defenders to hesitate just for a split second. And we know what happened when Omarion Hampton gets that one little juke box. Bye-bye. He's going to have that hesitation. And it's a talented running back, man. He can just, once he gets those jets going, it's bye-bye. But imagine Omarion Hampton running behind pre-snap motion that forces linebackers to shift before they even snap the ball. Snap. Imagine Justin Herbert under center selling the play action while McDaniel creates these wild, crazy plays. outside the hit. This is what I'm excited for you. Is these schemes that Mike McDaniel plans, not just for Justin Herbert, but for this offense in general. It's going to be really going from what we've seen the past couple of years in the Greg Roman offense, or I should say the stagnant, stale Greg Roman offense, to now the Justin Herbert, Mike McDaniel offense. These plays are going to be ridiculous. Keeping defenses honest this year through the year is going to be fun, but seeing what Omari and Hampton bump is going to do on the ground this year, it's going to be even more special. We got our tackles back. We got a whole healthy line. I see no stopping. As Bake said to me, Omari and Hampton's going to have a year. Keaton Mitchell's going to have a good year too. I think the Los Angeles Chargers running back room in general is going to have a great year. As long as we stay healthy, this is going to be a special year. But just think of what the nightmare this is going to create for defenses also this year. We know what McDaniels is going to scheme up for these players, but defenses are going to have to account for this. And this is what we didn't have with Greg Roman, but we have this now with Mike McDaniel for a year. It stinks it's only for a year, but reality is Chargers fans, get used to it. It's Mike McDaniel for 1 year. These routes, but Hampton, I think, is going to run well. He is a 3-down back. He's a beast. I'm trying to think running back that he reminds me of right now. I ain't going to say Jahmyr Gibbs is faster. Yeah, but Jahmyr Gibbs is a little husky. But I love how Gibbs runs. Don't get me wrong, but I think Omari Hampton is going to have a hell of a year this year. His athleticism is a true weapon for us this year, and our run game is going to be great for the Chargers. I feel this year, especially with Mike McDaniel, how he schemes things up and what he schemes the running backs. If we can get that from Omari and Hampton, bomb this year, it's going to be a special year for Justin Herbert and for this Los Angeles Chargers. Now, as I mentioned before, what do I think about Hampton for the fantasy aspect of football? I said, don't be surprised if Omari Hampton puts together a season somewhere in the neighborhood of, I'd say, 1,400 to 16 all-purpose rushing yards. I'm saying all-purpose. I'm going to say he's going to have about 1,000. I'm going to say between 1,000 to 1,100 yards on the ground. I'd say 45 to 60 receptions, about 450 to 600 receiving yards. I'm going to say about 14 to 18 total touchdowns. That's rushing and receiving. I think he has a possibility to make a Pro Bowl this year too. With those, if he puts up those kind of numbers. Pause. Those are Pro Bowl numbers, and those are league-winning fantasy football numbers for us, man. I'm one. I didn't trade not long ago for Omari Hampton, and I have a couple shares of him. I think 2, maybe 3 shares of Omari now. But hey, I'm not going to get too many, but I'm excited to have at least that. But I swear, the Chargers have spent years searching for their next offensive identity. We had LT back in 2006. Now we have Omari and Hampton. I'm not saying it's fair to compare Hampton to LT. You can't. They're in a different class of their own. But I'm just saying, we haven't had a running back that is good as Hampton as we did when last time we had LT. I mean, come on, he's going to rock the powder blue. We know how LT rocked that powder blue when all Chargers played. That's my favorite color. I'm wearing it proud in my head too, but I'm looking forward to it. But no, with Mike McDaniel running this offense for a year, it's going to be a special thing for Chargers players, for Hampton, for Ladd, for Q. I think this whole offense in general, and for Justin Herbert, this is going to be a beautiful thing for us Charger fans this year to watch. And it's going to be some beautiful football and some high-scoring games. We got a great schedule this year. We got some great opponents from the Texans, from the Baltimore Ravens, from the San Francisco 49ers. We have a great schedule there. We have the Los Angeles Rams. Shout out to the King D and to others. But that schedule is not easy this year, but you know what? It's going to be a fun one. We're going to get through it. We'll get through it together, but it's going to be a fun one. I think Omari Hampton in year 2 has a jump what he had last year, and that's why I say he'll have a great second year. I think he's going to be one of the second in fantasy football for running backs. I think he'll have a breakout one that stands out of his year 2. So I feel he's going to be one of the top running backs. I'm not going to say he's going to be in the top 5. I think he'll be in the top 10 for Hampton. That's why I didn't have that on my show sheet or whatever. That's getting in my head. I think he'll be a top. If he stays healthy, I think he'll be a top 10 running back this year for sure. That's what I think for Amari and Hampton this year, and he'll be a power back, but he will be a fantasy stud. Pause in fantasy football for 2027. So on that one, I'm going to bolt up on that one. I'm looking forward to an Amari. Bump, Hampton. Let's go. JD, you want to pull up the news and the notes? Picture. Thank you. All right. So I just got back to Amari Hampton. PFF ranks Amari Hampton as the number 19 running back entering the 2026 season. That's PFF. That's their numbers. Now, speaking of Ladd McConkey, Daniel Popper from The Atlantic believes Ladd McConkey is the number one option in the Chargers passing offense. That's a no-brainer. We know that. Thanks, Daniel Popper. And Daniel Popper reported that the Chargers, I said I had some news on Tully. Tully hasn't ruled out a hold-in. That's why I said we got to, last week, pay the man. Let's get this. I don't want any distractions going into training camp. I don't want any distractions. No contract distractions. Please, pay the man. He deserves to be paid. He's produced every single week, year in, year out. He's shown Tully needs to be paid. I want to get that over and done with. And Daniel Popper does believe this. Amari and Hampton in the Mike McDaniel offensive scheme could lead to fireworks, in quotes. If he can stay healthy, he has a chance to be one of the best running backs in the league. That's what Daniel Popper says. Well, a lot of people are saying that about Amari and Hampton this year, and I'm going to hop on the bandwagon too. I think he's going to have a great year. Now, that's all the news and notes I have. As JD, you want to pull up the QR code. All right, as you know, to those that follow me on all social medias, I appreciate the love and support on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all across social media. I appreciate all the love, the support, everything gives me. But let me give a shout out to these 5 people. I'm going to shout out to Booga Peters over on the Bolt Splits Uncut. Also, Taylor Bloom, who's also on the Electric Edge. Shout out to the fella JD, who's backstage, the best producer, who puts out all these great fantasy football videos and his accountability videos. I appreciate you every single week doing this for me. I really do. Shout out to my boy Jay over on TikTok for the Charged Up podcast. And to my friend and fellow Charger fan, Joe Madden Sports, who is going to be a guest before the season starts. She's going to have her insights on the Chargers and also for betting-wise purposes for the NFL season. She's just follow her over on you can follow her on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. There's not a place. Just type in Joe Madden Sports or SSPI over on YouTube. She has Joe Madden Sports over on YouTube, and SSPI is the company that she also promotes. So head on over there. Shout out to Bongsalup. What's up, my friend? Thanks for tuning in. What's up? Hope all is well with you. And as I said this year, I'm going to have a lot of guests this year. I'm going to have the 49er faithful there. I'm going to have a friend of mine who is a Baltimore Ravens fan. I will have the Mouth of the Bay on, along with Bogey. I will have Kidda. This is not going to be a week that I won't have a guest. And this going to be a weekly guest no matter what's going to go on. But I have the fella backstage who always keeps me going, keeps me positive. You got this. Yeah, I got it. But I thank him each week for all he does, and I really do. But I appreciate having Bogey on. I appreciate Kidda. I'm looking forward to having Peacock on and joining him over there with the H-Town Huddle. I'm looking forward to all these things this year. But, I'm looking forward to going on the Kansas City Chiefs podcast this year, and then also the end of the season, having them come on this podcast. It's going to be fun. And I've reached out to someone on the Buffalo Bills to hopefully get one over there. I know I'm going to have Jay Love. I'm going to reach out to him about him coming on for week 1. But it's going to be a fun season. But I'd like to thank each and every one of you who tune in each week. Take time out of your day. But I really do appreciate it. But you know what? As I said, I dedicated this episode to our dog Taffy, who was 20 years old. Bolt Nation, I loved having Taffy on all our shows, but I'm gonna miss her. But I wanted to dedicate this episode to her, and I know today is a hard day for us because she cremated. But you know what, Taffy, you're upstairs watching over us, and thank you for 16 great years I spent with you. But you were part of this family for 20 years. But man, I appreciate it. You were a wonderful dog, but you'll be missed. But you know what? Thank you for looking over me, and I did this one for you, and I really appreciate everything. But I really appreciate JD, Bogey, all these guys that reached out, and I know Peacock's going to make something special for us at the house, so I'm looking forward to that. But I really appreciate each and every one of you, and make sure to tune in to next week for the next episode. But also, we're going to have England and Norway tomorrow. We're also going to not televise, but we're going to also not stream, but we're going to have a watch party for the UFC fight. I heard possibly. I didn't know too much about it until earlier. JD mentioned too, but we might possibly do this other World Cup game. So make sure to tune in to the Gen Wealth, which you're on right now, and also the Heart to Start channel. And also head on over to neonpeacockmerch.com. Check out all the great drip and stuff that Peacock is cooking up. I know there's not a week he's always cooking up something, but a fantastic artist, wonderful friend, wonderful fantasy manager, and also head on over to Neon Peacock Merch, and also check out Peacock's YouTube channel. He's got some great stuff over there too. And I know during the season he's going to have his H-Town Huddle. But as I said, I want to thank the fella backstage for producing it. It's another great show as always. Thank you, week in and week after. Thank you, Emil. Thank you, Peacock. Thank you, Bogey. Bronx a lot. Everyone that tuned into the chat today, I appreciate each and every one of you. Soundwave Nick, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow, my friend, too. But to everyone, I appreciate for tuning. Emil, let me not forget. Emil's always there, week in, week out. Same with King D. I appreciate each and every one of you cats every single week for popping in. I really do. It means a lot to me. For someone that last year didn't think this podcast would just fly, if it wasn't for each and every one of y'all, I don't know how long it would have lasted, but I appreciate it. I put in the work to make it better each week, and I appreciate everyone. On that note, bolt up, and thank you for tuning in for Season 2, Episode 13 of the Chargers Power. I'll see you next week for Episode 14. Fella, I'll see you later. Peace out, and head on over to neonpeacockmerch.com. Bolt up, fellas.
call a blitz, make you call it quits. I can execute the plan or improv off script with my brothers from another living color with the skit. Yeah, yeah, with the shit. Finna call a blitz, make you call it quits. I can execute the plan or improv off script with my brothers from another living color with the skit. Yeah, you know the squad I'm bumming with. Try to run with the rock and you fumbled it. Finna spin the block in the mothership. Rock like Woodstock, big stock, smother shit. Word to Uncle Sam, we tax like the government. Still in the game till the day I'm in love with it. You are now rocking with the most coveted. Unapologetic, let you know who you fucking with. What's the use? I got the juice. Tapping head tops like Duck, Duck, Goose. Slide off smooth in a coupe, no roof. Rocking sheep's clothing, I'm the big bad wolf. Double up, we gon' double down and double that. If I feel him double crossed, I'ma double back. That's a couple hundred large in a duffel bag. Blitzkrieg, somebody gon' end up a pack. Yeah, yeah, with the shit. Finna call a blitz, make you call it quits. I can execute the plan or improv off script with my brothers from another living color with the skit. Yeah, yeah, with the shit. Finna call a blitz, make you call it quits. I can execute the plan or improv off script with my brothers from another living color with the skit. Yeah, you half-steppers can't fuck with this. I'm with the big steppers and we stumping shit. Ice grill, you can feel the momentum shift. Alpha and the Omega, I'm the Genesis. Real savage, go-getter. Yeah, I'm getting it. School of hard knock, I'm the mascot, flipping shit.